In this world, there are three types of people. Those who can't use magic, the Greys. Those whose magic can create and give life to the world, the Angels. And those whose magic breaks and destroys, the Elementals. For thousands of years, the world was ruled by power-hungry, warmongering Elementals, breakers as they should be called, using the Greys and Angels as pawns in their wars, threatening them with their powerful, destructive magic if they didn't obey. Until we, the Greys, invented gunpowder. That is when the Angels and the Greys rose up against the Breaker warlords and took control of our lives and our land. In the hundreds of years that have passed since then, the Angels have risen to the top of the social strata, leaving the Greys and the Breakers below them, building cities of great technological marvel. But no empire lasts forever. And now, in New Angel City, that status quo will once more be changed forever.
But Dad, my best friend is an elemental.
Know this. No angel nor breaker will ever be our friends. They will only use us.
Hey guys, welcome back to another devlog. This is devlog number 2 of Project Tactics. And if you want to see me take a game from scratch to patch, then make sure you scroll down and hit subscribe and the bell icon so you get notified whenever I upload a new devlog. Let's get right into it. So you guys finished just watching what was sort of like a setting reveal for the game of Project Tactics. Think magic, 1990s New York City. That's the sort of vibe I'm going for with this game. I have to thank my partner because I was telling her about this like funny little idea I had for, my game, magic in 1990s New York City. And I was fully content just making a medieval Project Tactics with your mages, wizards, your swords and all that sort of stuff. But I just told my partner, hey, I've got this really funny, funky idea. But I don't think I'll go with it because it's too risky. And she says to me, you know what happens to people who don't take risks? They don't get the rewards. Yeah, you're taking a risk by making this game, by putting all of your money into it and making it. Yeah, you're already taking a big risk. But if you really want to make this cool, funky setting, then take that risk as well, because you're only going to be disappointed with yourself that you didn't. And she was right. If I didn't take this risk and make this unique setting of 1990s New York City with a magic sort of setting, then yeah, I probably would be disappointed. So it's thanks to her that I'm actually going through with this idea, and that you've got that setting reveal that I just showed you at the start of the video, as well as the direction of the game that it's going in. So yeah, it's setting. Again, think 1990s, New York City, magic. And let's move on with the devlog.
Rage on that beat, going crazy.
So that's essentially the sort of style I want to go for. And I want this sort of like hip-hop vibe battle music, so you're just sort of hipping and hopping like in the middle of fight, just a boom, okay, okay, and that sort of style. Anyway, tools and softwares that we're using. So I think we decided last week that I said on stream, not on stream, I did say it on stream, but what I said on the actual devlog is that we're using Unity as an engine, and I've actually successfully found a programmer who's now on my payroll, and he's creating all of the programming systems, all of that sort of stuff. I'll get more into that later, but we're using Unity, and he's coding the systems in C#. So C# is the language that we're using, and Unity is, essentially what we're using. In terms of 2D assets, we're using Photoshop. I'm actually just gonna list them up here, like ding, ding, ding. But anyway, so we're using Unity. Next, we're using Photoshop. And Photoshop, you can use GIMP. GIMP is also a really good software, but I pay for Photoshop monthly, and I personally prefer to use it. It's, in my opinion, a really good software to use for any sort of 2D design. So Photoshop that's the 2D art software that we're using. In terms of 3D, we're using Blender. Now, when I studied video game design, we studied using Autodesk Maya. The reason I'm using Blender is because Maya costs $300 a month. I cannot afford $300 a month. I mean, I can, but not for like a subscription. That's absolutely crazy. When this game is finished and makes millions of billions of dollars, sure, we'll get Maya. But for the moment, for our 3D software, we're using Blender, which has been fun trying to learn. It's been like 6 or 7 years since I've actually done any 3D modeling. So it's been really good to go back in and sort of, update and learn that process again and just make some pretty cool things. As you would have seen in the concept, I had that like brick house building that I just started to texture. I've been learning how to remake normal maps and bump maps. I figured bump maps I'm not going to use for this, but normal maps, just to make these 2D pixel art textures pop out of the screen a bit and have some shadow attached to them. So yeah, at the moment I'm just messing around with creating those sort of assets, and we're trying to get them to work in game. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to jump into the game we've got so far. Keep in mind, this is like alpha 0.00001, so, but I'm just going to show you like where we're at. Like, this is going, the game's moving, it's in production, and so I'm just going to show you that right now. Forgive the lack of any sort of editing this clip has, by the way. I just find it's much more natural to talk to you as is, and hopefully my words flow a bit more. I don't even know if that sentence worked. Moving on, this is what we've got so far. Now, for those of you who don't remember, I am making a prototype because the idea is to take the prototype to some publishers and have the publishers fund the completion of this game. But here is the prototype so far. Unpolished, but mechanics are working. So let's show you that. Here's the opening screen. And you can see we can rotate the map around a bit, and we've got some controls here, left and right to move the camera. Zooming is mouse wheel. Left mouse for buttons, B to start battle, right click to issue command. No stats are connected yet. But anyway, so if I press B, the battle has started, and it's now the player's turn. So that's this guy over here. If I hit move, I'm actually able to move along this grid up here. Now, at the moment, I can't undo that action if I select it. If I select it, it's final. But I could then attack on either side if I wish to, or I can end my turn. When I've ended the turn, it's now the player's turn, so the player can hit move and move around as much as he wants as well. I'm going to end the turn. Now, I'm going to move the player again over here, and I'm going to show you something cool. Now, the player can move. I've actually made this crate in 3D. So I can actually jump on top of this crate. That's a 3D object. So it's not connected to the grid system. Well, it is. It's sort of connected to the grid system. But I can jump on top of this crate and essentially, I'm on top of the crate. Like, I don't know how to explain it in coding terms. I don't know if it's too complicated, but like in terms of actually getting, I can make 3D objects and the player can jump on them. And that is like a step towards getting the game working in my mind. Like this is getting the prototype up and running. So now if we move, in the turn, move the enemy. If I attack and I click, see when I hover over the player, there's this little red box that appears. That means I'm targeting him now if I click on him. So if I click on the player, see here it says attack hit. Now, if I end the turn, you'll look at the player's stats. The player now has 9 HP instead of 10 HP. And I'll do the same thing. I'll use the player to attack the enemy. And now the enemy, which did have like 10 HP before, now has 9 HP as well. So yeah, that's essentially where we're at with the prototype of the game. This is coming along really fast, by the way. I'm about to start chucking in assets. Hopefully we're going to get some 2D animated sprites in there soon. Next on the list of things to do, I'm just going to cut back to my office, my $10 million office. That was a bit of a copy from CoffeeZilla. But essentially, the next step we're moving towards in terms of the prototype is we've got to get a control system. So whilst at the moment I'm clicking, I'll talk into the microphone. Whilst at the moment I'm clicking where I want to go, I want to actually get it to the point where I can have a cursor which appears over attack, move, cancel action, all that sort of stuff. And then I can like hit spacebar. And then I've got a cursor that appears on the screen and I can use WASD to move the cursor around and select where to go. So I've got to get this sort of control system down pat. And that's the next thing that I'm going to get the programmer to be doing. After that, we're going to get the camera system working, where the camera will actually follow the players and follow the cursor and all of that sort of stuff. And we also have a lot of other stuff in the works as well. We've got a dialogue system that we're getting ready, and it's really cool, right? What we're going to get working is, instead of like the dialogue being hard-coded into the game, it's going to be a Microsoft Excel spreadsheet, where we just load the Excel spreadsheet into the game, and that's going to read the dialogue off in-game. I don't have anything to show you yet, but that's what it's going to be, and it's going to be really cool because it means that the programmer doesn't have to hard code dialogue into the game. The developers, myself and my friend Justin, who I'll be introducing a bit later on in this video, we're going to be able to actually just type that out in an Excel spreadsheet, export it as a CSV file, and then that can just be plugged directly into any sort of game scene and dialogue will appear. So that's where we're at in terms of the prototype. Now it's just about, getting a level done, like a grey boxed level, and texturing it with some simple textures. But like we're on track, like we're moving and we're moving fast. But I am so bad at this. I'm having troubles. So as with any sort of indie game developer or indie game company, my role within the production of this game is producer, director, art, narrative design. The list goes on. But the thing I'm having trouble with is producing. Who knew, like, the role of producer could be such a hard role to fill? Right, let me go over a few things. I'm really bad at delegating work. So for task management, we're using Trello, and Trello is just to keep track of everything that's going on. And we're doing well. We're managing to tick off our tasks, all of that sort of thing. Testing. A lot of what I'm doing at the moment is testing, but I guess it comes with the territory of paying someone. So I'll go over it a bit later, but I am currently paying my programmer monthly to do the work. And because I'm paying him, I actually have to find work for him to do. It's on a pretty much full-time basis. So I have to sit here as the producer and come up with a full-time list of work for the programmer to do. Now, I know what I want him to do. That's all in my head. I've now got to translate that into what is essentially a glorified list. And sometimes it can't just be done with a list. So I then need to constantly go into meetings with the programmer and with my co-director, Justin. And I'll be introducing both of them later on. But like, there's a lot of just going into meetings and discussing, because I can't just, over in Trello, I can't just make a card for the work I want done. I mean, I can, but in order, like here with the control system or with the camera control, like I can't just like, camera will follow cursor, camera will follow character. I need to get into a meeting with the programmer and tell him this is how I want this system to work. And that's on top of everything else. That's on top of my research. That's on top of my art creating. It's on top of meeting with the co-director, Justin, to discuss narrative design. Because I'm going balls to the walls with this project. I'm fully investing in. I've taken all of the money I had in my stock portfolio. I've taken all of that out and I'm throwing it into this project. So I'm balls deep, and wow, it's hard. And I knew it wasn't going to go perfectly, but I guess that's one thing I can portray to you guys, is that this isn't the easiest thing to do. My time is so stretched at the moment, and sometimes I just lose motivation and start playing Valheim for 5 hours straight. Why did Valheim have to come out right when I'm starting my project? I'm just losing hours of productivity to that game, but I am building a sweet Viking hall. That is a sweet Viking hall. So, moving forward with the project, it's more about, over this next month, I really have to find my ability to create and delegate work as a producer. It's fun, me jumping into Blender, me jumping into Photoshop, making textures, normal maps, importing them into the game. That's all fun and it's stuff I enjoy. But part and parcel of game development is I'm going to have to do things I don't enjoy. And one of those things is actually sitting down, creating a list of work and delegating that work and jumping into meetings and talking about the work I need done. And at the moment, my management style is just programmer knows what he's doing. I've got tasks on Trello, he can follow those. And that is a pretty horrendous management style. So I need to step up my own game and how I manage the team that I'm working within. I need to figure out a better system than just... I don't have a system at the moment. I need a system. And that's the thing, is that's my next month is me just going to consolidate all the processes and the systems and getting everything working, trying to make a smooth, flowing machine of game production, because at the moment it's all very willy-nilly. I need to start setting goals, milestones, not necessarily KPIs, but I'm almost in over my head, but I'm not gonna give up. So without further ado, at the moment, at the current time, I am waiting for both the programmer and my co-director to send me some videos, if they're both comfortable doing that, to chuck into this devlog, just introducing themselves. But it is time to introduce the team, what they're doing, and their role within the creation of Project Tactics.
Hi, I'm Justin. I'm the co-director, concept and narrative designer for the upcoming Project Tactics game. I have a bachelor's degree in interactive entertainment, which is essentially a fancy way of saying game designer.
So Justin, I used to go to university with him. We both studied a Bachelor of Interactive Entertainment, majoring in games design. Now, I dropped out of that course, he didn't. But I've brought him on this project as a co-director for a few reasons, but one of the main reasons is that when I'm directing just by myself, I can get lost in my own sort of ideas of what should and shouldn't happen, and there's no room for criticism within that. There's no second lens that it can be seen with. So having Justin on board, A, it's some free labor as a co-director, but B, he's able to input and say, hey, that idea is good, but what if we changed it around to something like this? We're able to bounce off each other just in regards to the ideas we present. We are also both heavily involved in projects together regarding art, narrative design, and 3D modeling, texturing. So I've offered Justin a position just for 50% equity of the company, which at the end of the day, people need to be rewarded and remunerated. So because I've known him for a while, he's willing to work on this project for equity within the company. And so we're now working together as co-directors to create this game.
Hello everyone, my name is Sam, also known as Fireblaze236. I am the developer for Project Tactics. I will be working on the early prototype for the project here alongside Liam at Level Up Design. I will be very thankful for your support and inspiration.
Sam, I put out a job posting for programmers for C#, and I had a bunch of responses, but Sam's was the only one who really addressed what I was looking for in the job posting. So I asked, what is your favorite game? What mechanics do you like in games? And he was one of the only people to really answer like why he liked this specific game and that specific mechanic. And he's also got a certain passion for the project as well, which I really like. So Sam's on board, and it's been great working with him getting the actual prototype built. And so that's the team. There's myself, which is every title under the sun. We've got Justin, who's doing co-directing, concept art, and narrative design. Then we've got Sam, who is doing the development. He is the C# programmer. That is pretty much the update I have for this devlog. So if you guys are enjoying this series and watching me take this from scratch to patch, then make sure you scroll down and hit the like button and the subscribe button. Both of those things in that order. If it's outside of that order, then it won't work. But don't forget to stay hydrated. I'll see you guys in the next devlog.